What's up, y'all? Kyle Hamilton here. I want to give a quick shout out to Lucas, Connor, and Ryan in the Week 0 podcast.
Jackson rolling out, 3rd and 7 after the penalty, and it's a completion to Kuma. He's still running. Kuma breaks free against a tired defense as the Hokies deliver the dagger here in Tallahassee. Empty look for Richardson. Oh, that is danger! Oh my! Keidron Smith cuts inside, and he's gonna pick six it in the swamp. Cat scratch fever Smith.
DJ is picked off, intercepted again by Benjamin Morrison. Here goes Morrison down the sideline. Can he go? Yes, he can. Touchdown, pick six, Benjamin Morrison. Nix drops back underneath. Touchdown, Ducks. Wow. Chase Taylor.
Welcome back, everyone, to a new edition of the Gold Standard. I am your host, Ryan Fravel. To my right is my co-host, Sean, at ND Forever on Twitter. Man, it's been another long week. We had another busy week of official visits for Notre Dame, some big names. So we'll get into it. But first off, Sean, as always, how's your week been, man?
Ready for the weekend, as always. It's been good. It's been good. How about you?
Doing really well. For really quick, we got our first comment from my co-host Lucas on the Week 0 podcast. You both know rushing is a duck.
Yes, we do.
We both know that.
Hey, after his visit, what he said, I was like,
he's a duck.
I can't be mad, though, because the visit either shows you you're a Notre Dame guy or it shows you you're not, right? And it just wasn't for him. And, I mean, at least it's not like, I hate him because he was like – it's like a Peyton Bone situation, right? It's early in this process. If it's not for him, it's not for him. You can't blame him. Not everyone's going to like Notre Dame.
Yeah, for sure. And, my thing is I didn't think Notre Dame technically lost his recruitment. I still think it's a long shot. I think Notre Dame has a sliver of hope. It's not like Ryan Wingo at this point, which, I still think Chancey Stuckey kind of butchered that recruitment a little bit.
You don't need that.
Hey, man, it was just a year ago that him, CJ Carr, and
I know
Jeremiah Love and Cam Williams were all going to go to Notre Dame and have fun and sing Kumbaya, and it's like
he'll go to Georgia or Tennessee, but I really thought after he visited Tennessee he was going to go to Tennessee. So we'll see if he goes to Georgia or not, especially with Dylan going there, the number one.
I'm surprised he didn't even give us an OV.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. I'm surprised we didn't even get an official.
I will admit, with Elijah Rushing, we 100% lost that recruitment. I'm gonna say it. Like, we lost it.
You want to fill them in?
You want to pull up the article, Ryan, just so you can show him his quote?
Yep.
There's a little sliver of a quote where he was just saying how his visit went, and it just was not what most recruits say, like, oh man, I loved it, I'm definitely gonna give them a shot or something like that. And it was just not a confident quote. It was like, you just reading it, you were like, he's not going to Notre Dame. It was on Twitter, Ryan, too, on the On3.
Okay, let me look that up. It's So Elijah Rushing statement.
Mike might have it or something. But yeah, we lost that recruitment. I'll admit it. If Oregon was, it's not like we were leading. Oregon has had the upper hand the whole recruitment. So we lost that. Right.
Let's see. So, yep. I can't find anything about it on Twitter.
Okay, let me look.
Here we go. It was a great opportunity and a blessing to take an OV to Notre Dame. I appreciate them making me feel at home the best that they could.
The best that they could. Oh, yeah. When he said the best that they could, we're like, that is not a promising statement.
And
like,
something I read, and Mike's article was that, like, he almost was kind of like, here's a cookie, Notre Dame. Thank you for flying me out here, paying for all my stuff. Now, though, the key quote was, now I truly understand what Notre Dame is truly about.
Yeah, but with
Like-
him saying what he said about the coaching staff giving him his best shot, like, that's just kind of like, they tried, but they couldn't get me.
And
That's
the thing
way-
I thought was odd was with his visit was, Freeman typically goes the typical Notre Dame recruiting route, the 440, the academics. And my understanding from Elijah Rushing's OV was he was the only recruit that was on his official that day that got a completely different pitch. Freeman actually sat for like 2 or 3 hours, I believe, talking to Elijah Rushing's father about NIL at Notre Dame. Notre Dame went with a full force NIL pitch towards Elijah Rushing, which I kind of think is kind of odd when you haven't recruited kids like that before.
It's because that's what he's about. You knew this. I mean, he's going to get the bag at Oregon, or he wants to earn the bag at Notre Dame, right? But I mean, we knew that he was we knew that he was an NIL type of kid. So I'm not surprised. Freeman knows the personalities of the kids. He knows what they want. He knows if they care about starting. He knows if they care about being developed. The NIL, recruitment, NCAA football, video game, it doesn't matter. Like, he knows what these kids want, right? So he's going to pitch to them what he feels like is their biggest priority, right?
And the thing with, Elijah Rushing, and we've said this the last couple of shows, is he's not a, must-have. He's a kind of topping on the cake type of guy for Notre Dame in terms of this class. We already have 3 edges.
Yeah,
not going after
any more
anymore.
edges we have.
He is, but I know that I personally, and think you would agree, we both would rather have Scott.
Yes,
In
100%.
terms of, so I think Justin Scott is definitely still on the table. Let's go ahead and get into that really quick. An update on Justin Scott. He just took his Michigan official visit. Last week, he took his Georgia official, said things like, Georgia has now officially tied for my number 1 spot with Notre Dame and Miami.
Yep.
Said similar things about Michigan without the tied with Notre Dame and Miami part. Heard
Did you
it
see
was
the photo
really.
with him and Ryan Wingo?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It was a really good. He said it was a really good visit. He enjoyed his time there. So me personally, I don't think Michigan's really a true threat for Justin Scott. I think that boat has already sailed when he was going to commit to us in January over Michigan. I think it's,
I wish.
Well, I'd rather deal with it now than have him as a committed prospect going to Miami, Georgia. So I don't know, man. I still think it's Notre Dame. I mean, how do you feel?
I think it's 60-40 Miami, Notre Dame. But
With Miami at 60 right now?
yes, but who's last? It's Notre Dame, then Miami, right?
No, Miami's already had their official, I believe.
So Notre Dame's next, I know.
But the official visit is not until the Ohio State game. That's what my understanding.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured was the Ohio State game. It's gonna be the key if he doesn't commit before the season, right? That's the key. We need to keep him uncommitted as long. If we can get him uncommitted for that Ohio State game, I think we land him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aaron Scott already committed, right? I believe.
I don't think so. Did he? I didn't see if he did.
I thought he committed to Ohio State.
I didn't see he committed. I must have not seen that on Twitter.
But no, I think it's good, and you know what? That's part of what Mike said in his article when Justin Scott scheduled this official visit for
Mhm.
in the fall was Freeman didn't want to use their official visit this early
Yes.
for Scott. Georgia, Miami, they kind of had to. Michigan kind of had to because they're falling behind. Like you said, if Justin Scott goes throughout the entire summer uncommitted, I think Notre Dame is going to land him. Because Notre Dame will get the last official visit. He's going to have to pay out of pocket to go to Miami or Georgia. Maybe he could take an unofficial to Michigan. But I think that Notre Dame having the last shot, and especially if Notre Dame wins that Ohio State game,
Mhm.
I think that could, kind of just lock it in right there.
The green jerseys, man. That's gonna be
Yes.
nice.
And
Nice
also
game.
Caleb Beasley will be at that game as well with Scott. So
He's gonna flip. He wouldn't give Notre Dame this much looks if.
and if he's taking an official, which is hilarious. So
Yeah, because Notre Dame don't like it. It's funny. It's kind of hypocritical, but I'm okay with it. But I actually like the policy. A lot of people don't.
I know a lot of people don't.
I think if you're committed, why would you go to official visit somewhere else? Yeah, he's not.
Oh.
I was about to say. I swore I didn't see anything on it on Twitter, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting recruiting class. It's very different than past recruiting classes. Usually, we're pretty balanced or pretty defensive heavy.
Mhm.
This one seems very offensive heavy and has a bunch of prototype type players on defense.
Yeah, last year we were very defensive oriented last year.
Which is why I'm okay with this being off. We need some offensive help. CJ Carr, Cam Williams. I mean, actually, did I tell you that I went to the grocery store here at Publix and someone saw me in a Notre Dame shirt and while I was at checkout and they said, "Hey, I know Isaiah. Do you know? Have you ever heard Isaiah?"
Isaiah Kenyon?
Yeah. And I said, right when I moved here, he committed. So it's funny you say that. What are the odds of that, right? But I just thought it was funny because I went to the grocery store and everyone here knows who he is, right? Because I'm in the city he was from. So
Yeah, it's hilarious. Funny enough, this weekend I just got back from a 5-day vacation in St. Louis, and I went to the Science Center. That's literally, and I didn't realize because we were just figuring out anything we could do. I went to the Science Center right there. Didn't realize that Ryan Wingo's high school stadium is literally 50 feet away from the Science Center. And I was going in there. I was wearing my Notre Dame gear, and they're like, "Hey, man, hey, you know who Ryan Wingo is?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then people were talking about Jeremiah Love because he's very big around that area too.
yeah,
It's so odd that both you and me got to go to places where two Notre Dame targets both went to either school. But man, I'll tell you what, Ryan Wingo Stadium, the high school stadium, is freaking huge.
Oh yeah,
it's like a college dormitory.
Yeah, Missouri's got some decent stadiums there. Same with Texas. I mean, that's not a surprise, but yeah, there's some craziness with these high school stadiums. Look at my college stadiums. I feel like often push harder for offensive recruits because defense will fall in their lap anyway. Lanning and Freeman are very similar in recruiting. Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's actually pretty even with recruiting. Actually, we get decent similar recruiting classes. They seem to be very balanced with the 4 or 5 stars and low amount of 3 stars and offensive heavy as of recently. Because, like you said, I mean, it's easier for him to develop defensive players and offensive players. So go out and get the higher rated players where it's a little easier to develop them. And how do you feel? I'm going to ask this about Parker so far. I know we've gotten a chance to see him in the spring. I think it's a good hire now.
I do, but I don't think you can really. If he gets us Carter Nelson, I think it's a really good hire. Which, speaking of which, we'll talk about those 2 guys here in a second. The 2 guys that look like they're Notre Dame leans here. But I personally think it's. I kind of want to wait until he gets his own, recruiting cycle. Once 2025 comes around, because Tommy Rees had a lot of impact on getting CJ Carr, a lot of impact in getting Cam Williams.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to see what Jared Parker can do. So far, if Blake Hebert which we'll talk about now while we got it up. If Blake Hebert doesn't commit tomorrow, Notre Dame's kind of in a bad spot as of right now for 2025 quarterback recruiting. Because outside of Hebert, you have you have Deuce Knight, who is the number 5 rated quarterback in his class. This kid, I really like his measurables. He's 6'3", tall, number 6 ranked quarterback in On3's class. He's a number 19 in the class of 2025 or 247. But you got a 6'2", 2.5", 213-pound quarterback out of Lawrence, Massachusetts.
6'3", very Brock Osweiler type. Osweiler's a little taller, but that's what he reminds me of when I watch him play.
It's like I said, the On3 thing's looking like Clemson for his commitment in 2 days. Who knows? A lot of positive stuff from what I'm hearing from Notre Dame side of things. So overall, what do you think about this kid? And do you think he's going to go Notre Dame, or do you think he's going to go to Clemson?
I like him a lot. I thought he was a Notre Dame lock when after his official visit, he announced his commitment date. So it's a little odd with the timing. I didn't even see anything about Clemson, to be honest, until you told me pre-show. And I thought it was a Notre Dame lock. I was like, we're about to get our 2025 quarterback, start strong, building the class. And I'm a little surprised to see Clemson. Well, not surprised. They're great at recruiting quarterbacks. But I'm surprised they came out of nowhere to me. So I think Clemson does land him because I looked at 24/7 after you said that and On3, and there's like 5 crystal balls total between the 2 sites for him to go to Clemson. I don't see this being like a Brennan Vernon or Emil Wagner situation where we're going to just pull it out the hat during the commitment date, but we'll see. I like him. I really do. I think he would be a great addition to the team, recruiting class. He's a really good player, and Clemson, if they get him, is going to get a elite quarterback that's going to rise through the rankings in this class. So he's a good one. I wanted to get him, but we'll see.
Yeah, what's up, Golden Playbook? So Mike just dropped his Lucky Charms just now, and everything is looking like. Just put this in the article. Notre Dame offered Massachusetts quarterback Blake Hebert over the weekend, but the 2025 passer is announcing his commitment Friday, and appears to be strongly trending towards Clemson, although Irish sources feel that Notre Dame is in a good position in their recruitment of Lucedale, George County quarterback Deuce Knight. The staff will continue to recruit more quarterbacks in the 2025 2025 class.
What? If Clemson's strong position, how does they feel comfortable, right?
And evidently Notre Dame is going to be working out 2025 quarterback Bear Bachmeier. I'm guessing he is the brother of Hank Bachmeier, who was the star quarterback at Boise State just a few years back. He is from Marietta, California, the number 154 overall player, number 10 quarterback according to the On3 industry ranking. So he's going to get to campus soon and camp for the Irish to see if he gets in an offer.
They need to get one of these at least top 15 ranked quarterbacks. I get after CJ Carl, you're about to get a top 5 quarterback, but when teams consistently get these top 10 quarterbacks, you got to start building that. Because what if CJ Carl loses a battle? What if he doesn't start right away and transfers? You won't be in a shitty situation, right? So they need to find a way to land a decent quarterback this class. To consistently be good, you need to Jalen Hurts to a Tagovailoa situation, right? What if that happens? We just need that, and they need to find a way to recruit a good quarterback. If it's not Hebert, we'll see. With commitment news, though, we might not land him, but there's a pretty good prospect that I told you how I felt about last week that is now announcing his commitment date. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that it would have been nice to get Blake Hebert. This Bachmeier kid seems pretty good. He is, in fact, the brother of Hank Bachmeier. But I don't know, man.
I said Notre Dame and legacy quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, he reading the article, he's actually pretty good. He's got a grade of 91.51. According to On3, they have him as the 9th ranked quarterback. 24/7 has him as the 15th. ESPN, for what it's worth, has him as the 3rd best quarterback in the class.
ESPN sucks.
Yeah. Rivals has him as the 11th best quarterback in the class. So, hey, you know what's weird? They have such a weird name, and because I guess there's 3 brothers. There's Hank that played for Boise State, and now is playing for Louisiana Tech. Bear has a brother named Tiger Bachmeier, who is a freshman wide receiver at Stanford.
They're smart kids.
So yeah, and then moving on, we have Blake Hebert, who will be committing on.
I want to say Herbert so bad.
I do too. Next up, Paul Menke. He was the 4-star safety that Notre Dame was pretty confident originally about landing. I believe there was a Steve or Wilfong or Tom Lloyd put in a crystal ball for him to land at Notre Dame. Dropped his commitment to Duke earlier this week. What are your thoughts on this, Sean? I know last week you were pretty confused when I told you it seemed like he was trending elsewhere. How big of a loss is this for Notre Dame?
Okay, the only reason I was confused was because I felt we weren't going after Tay Johnson fully, and I thought they were going after Paul a little more heavily.
Oh man,
probably. But I think both schools, by the way, fans that talk about that are in better shape with Freeman and with Kelly at LSU.
Yes.
But I told you last week this guy has potential to somehow get playing time early as a freshman. I also told you last week when we talked about all the safeties, I told you my favorite was Tay Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I am surprised he committed to Duke, but I'm not surprised because after Tay Johnson announced he was committing, I knew we were going to start to fizzle out with some of these safeties because we already got Urlacher. We already got
Tay Johnson
potentially, but yeah, we're getting Tay Johnson. And we might get a lower ranked one later to add some depth, but I'm not surprised. It's kind of weird. I don't think we lost this one really. I think it was more of maybe we did. I think it was more of like a number. And Notre Dame was probably like, I need you to commit now. He wasn't ready. And then he was like, crap, I can't go to Notre Dame anymore. I like Duke. I'm going to go to Duke. Right.
Yeah, that's the thing is and when Mike put in his report, he was pretty much 99.9% going to commit to Notre Dame. And then Mike Elko called from Duke, just asked him to come for an OV, just to give him a shot. After that, Notre Dame told him that, hey, if you don't commit now, we can't guarantee you a spot. Well,
he didn't commit.
He seemed fine with that. So
Tay Johnson is a beast, and I've been wanting him in the class. I told you when we were talking about receivers too. I know people like him a receiver. I want him in the class. I don't care where. I'm happy.
Oh, by the way, Sean, your mic is a little muffled. I don't know if it's something.
Oh, it's my fault. Yeah, that's me.
But overall, like for me, outside of Tay Johnson and Kennedy Urlacher, I'm a little worried about who that third safety is going to be. I think Davis Andrews is pretty much a Notre Dame lock at this point. But like we said, he's going to take a 2-year mission, so he's not going to count towards this class.
Yep. Those never work out either. They always go and
they never come back.
Yeah.
But I mean, Oliver Miles was a name that a lot of people were talking about. We talked about him last week. Notre Dame thought for sure that once he came to Notre Dame on his OV, that a commitment would just instantly pop. That has not happened. Notre Dame was very disappointed in that. So I guess we've got a kid coming this weekend who's going to camp, and his name is Tabron Benny Powell. He is the number 1,188 overall prospect and number 68 athlete, according to the On3 industry ranking. He's going to be camping at Notre Dame tomorrow. And if all goes well, Notre Dame will offer him.
Hey, I can't. For me, we already have 2 safeties in this class. We're pretty thin at safety, but we just got a great transfer from Rhode Island who's got 2 years of eligibility. I think our room's set. I do think we need to add a body to the room. He could be ranked unranked star safety. No ranks, I don't care. I think we just need to add another safety to the room. So I don't care if they're 1,000 ranked, right? Because sometimes you might get lucky, find that diamond in the rough. Maybe he just only started. It was his first year starting as a junior last year, right? Maybe he just started football. We don't know the situations. Maybe he can be developed. So sometimes they pan out. Man, I tell you, did you expect 3-star Ian Book to be the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame? Did you expect Joe Alt as an early 3-star, went up to a 4-star late in the process to start as a freshman? Did you expect Benjamin Morrison to be the one to break out in the class?
No.
Even though it's different, he's a 4-star. It's still like crazy to think about.
And I was very hype about Benjamin Morrison. I will say that. I was very hype when we got him in the class. Yes. Malcolm Ziegler is, I guess, him and Oliver Miles is coming back for another visit. I guess last weekend's was a unofficial. This week is official. So 2 safety prospects will be visiting this weekend on officials. I personally, out of the 2, would like Malcolm Ziegler. I think he's, a stud. He recently got his offer in May. He's my cat in the background. But no, I really hope that Notre Dame can lock him up because I think Ziegler's better than Menke personally. I think he's more of a top 150 recruit than what other sites have him as. But I'm very high on him. So overall, if you had to choose between, obviously we would have Tay Johnson in the class and Kennedy Urlacher. Who would you rather have between Oliver Miles and Malcolm Ziegler?
Ziegler than Miles.
Yeah.
It's pretty
good. Next one we got is Tay Johnson. We've been talking about him a lot recently.
Yes.
He is a top 150 recruit out of the state of Indiana, Fort Wayne to be exact. Been a long time coming, it feels like, for Notre Dame and Tay Johnson.
I was getting nervous about Purdue there.
You were getting nervous about Purdue. I don't think I've ever heard a Notre Dame fan say that before.
I was, just because we were looking at other prospects of safety and it's in state, and they were like, "You're my number 1 priority." So I am pretty. I'll admit I was a little nervous that Purdue would end up landing him and playing him at receiver, and him being the next Rondell Moore Bateman type player, right? So, but we're gonna get him. And when I say he is a beast, this is a beast. My comparison is Lorenzo Styles.
Really?
Yes. They're talented at receiver, talented at defensive back. Everyone liked Styles more at defensive back. Notre Dame liked him at receiver. And as a freshman, he did great. Sucked as a sophomore. Thought he would have a great,
breakout season.
Just didn't happen. He's now a defensive back again. Maybe it's the same. Maybe he's better as a receiver, and Notre Dame likes him at safety, and he might transfer and go be a receiver elsewhere after. But this dude's good. He's talented. That's why he's listed as an athlete on On3, because it doesn't matter where you put him. So I think, and when I say, as of now, if I had to choose one recruit in this class as a freshman that is the surprise breakout, it's Tay Johnson. Just how thin the safety room is, it's Tay Johnson.
Oh yeah, and I love his size, 6'3", 170.
And he played receiver, so it's going to be easy for him to high point the ball, right?
This might be kind of a hot take, but I think Tay Johnson could be the next Kyle Hamilton.
That's a very hot take.
That's a very hot take. I very hot take.
I will say this is my pick. Not saying he's going to start over our transfer and over if Watts comes back, but Notre Dame likes to rotate safeties. So I could see him as a freshman coming in and getting some playing time, period.
Yeah, for sure. I've been excited about Bronte Johnson for a very long time, since last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised his ranking has dropped so far as what it has, because if I remember correctly, he was a top 75 player last year around this time. I know that a lot of sites kind of, reevaluate once the football season's over. But because I think he's better than what his ranking is personally.
We'll see this season. I think if he commits to Notre Dame at safety, not saying he couldn't play both or should stop playing both, I do think this season he needs to focus more on safety for the mechanics wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree he was ranked top 75 and he has fallen, but you know how recruiting sites are. The season's over. How are people falling, rising? Because some people do camps, some people don't, and the camps make people rise to the rankings.
Yep. And then next up, we've got two more guys to talk about. The first one is Carter Nelson. He is a top 60 player, the number 3 tight end in the country, according to On3.
When did that happen? Sorry, last time I literally looked I feel like a day or two ago, and it wasn't this heavy Nebraska.
I'm not sure, but from my understanding, it's Notre Dame.
Click on the all predictions. See if he had a prediction landed recently. Sorry, I'm just did not expect that. Scroll down.
No expert predictions. It's just because I think it's the home school.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, that must have risen up because last time I looked, it was about 28, 32. So I was like, whoa.
But I didn't realize 24/7 was so high on him. They have him as the second best tight end in the class.
Yes.
Wow.
How do you feel about Carter Nelson?
I like him a lot. I personally think Jaden Rydell was, the better tight end. But Carter Nelson is still really effing good. And I really like what Notre Dame did with their official this past weekend. It looks like he's trending towards Notre Dame. We'll see what happens when he takes his official visits to Penn State. And then I believe
Nebraska.
Nebraska. And my understanding is that after those official visits, his father said that he doesn't plan on taking any more and that they might be ready for a decision. So I think Notre Dame put themselves in a really great position. I know Georgia was really the heavy favorite to land him just a week ago, but I think the fact that Notre Dame only has one tight end commitment and Georgia has 2, one of whom being Jaden Rydell, is a big deal. And I think that's where Notre Dame edges out Georgia for this commitment.
This is a Eric Gilbert, Michael Mayer situation. Not in the slightest similar with how the recruitings went, but Georgia landed Rydell, Notre Dame lands Nelson. It's going to be – well, LSU got Gilbert, but he transferred to Georgia.
Yeah, and Michael Mayer was better than Eric Gilbert in college.
I know. Well, dude, my friend's an LSU friend, and when he was recruited, he was like, this dude's better than Michael Mayer. And I was like, we'll see. So, I mean, as a freshman, Gilbert wasn't bad. I don't know what happened to him. I think him transferring was dumb. He would have been fine at LSU. But, yeah, Carter Nelson, I agree 100% with what you said. The difference maker is Notre Dame have having one tight end commitment versus Georgia having two. So I don't see him going to Georgia. I do see Nebraska as a threat. I kind of Georgia. He's not afraid of competition, right?
Yeah, and I think that Carter Nelson is a perfect Notre Dame fit.
Yes.
If we get him, I am so excited for that tight end room with Holden Stays and Eli Raridan and the guys we've got coming in.
Holden Stays reminds me so much of Tommy Tremble.
Yes.
So much.
Yes. Very slender coming out, but ends up being one of your best tight ends.
Mm-hmm. I will say that Nelson I can see starting as well right away. Yeah.
As a freshman, like Michael Mayer.
Yep. I agree. I see it. It depends on how Eli Raridan, I'm very high on him. So it depends on how he comes back from his injury, right?
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm kind of surprised that Carter Nelson doesn't have more of the big boys going after him, so to speak, kind of like an Ohio State, a Georgia, or not a Georgia, an Alabama, an LSU. I'm kind of surprised.
I think those schools
don't value tight end as much.
Yeah, and Ohio State, I'll say I'm surprised with him being a Midwesterner top recruit. He feels like somebody, if he got an Ohio State offer right now, should go to Ohio State. But I hope he goes to Notre Dame.
It is weird that Notre Dame and Georgia, the two teams that had the top two tight ends in college football the last few years, are going to get the top two college or high school recruits.
Did you keep track of the Brock Bowers recruitment? You know how close that was to being Notre Dame. I'm just saying, it was like very close.
Can you imagine Notre Dame having Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers?
Like, it was really close to being Notre Dame. Like, oh my gosh.
I think Mitchell Evans could be really good too. I think I like Mitchell Evans a lot. I know a lot of Notre Dame fans who think he could be the next good tight end at Notre Dame.
I don't see it. I think he's good. I mean, let's tight end sneak him all day. But I see him. I see another tight end overshadowing him this year. Like, they and breaking out. I see him as a good placeholder. He's a good talent. Mm-hmm. Not saying he's not going to break out. Not saying he's not going to have a good season. He's going to probably have like 400 yards, but he's not. I don't know. I think tight end. It's just he's a good tight end. He's just not as athletic as the other ones.
All right. Next up, we got Bradley Shaw, who is an SEC country linebacker out of Hoover, Alabama. Not too many Alabama kids with an Alabama offer go to Notre Dame or even give Notre Dame a look. However, this guy he's very interested in Notre Dame. It looks like Notre Dame is the leader for him right now. He's taking an official visit to Auburn this weekend. But other than that, it looks like he's pretty close to a decision. I know that he is a very big, home guy, and Alabama is one of those schools that a lot of people think because Alabama right now and Georgia have offered him but aren't pushing hard for him right now. But a lot of people think if Alabama were to push for him, he would probably go to Alabama. But Notre Dame got him on campus for an official visit this past weekend. Absolutely hit it out of the park. He spoke very glowingly about Notre Dame, said it's very different and different in a good way than what he saw at his other SEC visits.
Yeah.
I think this guy's a stud. His body type reminds me a lot of Tavon Coney. And I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him on his visit. The dude is just absolutely chiseled. He looks like a college linebacker right now. That's what you get when you get guys out of SEC country. So I'm very excited about this commitment. I think he could possibly start don't say it. No, I'm not going to say it because Drake Bowen's there. And Jaden
The
Osbury's
linebacker
there.
room is just too
Too good.
right. But
Uh,
I agree, he's talented enough. I do think he's a beast, and I love him. I actually agree. I agree with everything you said, Coney. That was a great comparison, man. Like I agree. I'm going to use that too. The only thing I disagree on is I think you flip Alabama and Auburn. I think Auburn's the team to watch out for because home, he's likely going to start there before he would at Alabama. He's the same at home, SEC country. It's everything Alabama except he'll start right away. The pros that Alabama gives him, Auburn can say they give the same.
Do we think that Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer are similar in terms of talent? I think one is a pure receiving tight end and one is a better overall tight end.
Yeah, okay, I agree 100%. So I call them 1A, 1B, right? They're both elite. Brock Bowers is a Kyle Pitts wide receiver type player. Michael Mayer's the Gronk. Michael Mayer's a great Brock Bowers is a great player. And I'm not going to say, for me, I'm going to say Michael Mayer's better, but other people might disagree. But let's say they're both the same. Bowers is a better receiver, athletic type player. And, Michael Mayer's just a tight end. He's a true tight end compared to what Bowers is.
Yeah, I think that if you want a guy that he's more like a receiver and you want explosiveness, you go Brock Bowers. But if you want an overall tight end, like top to bottom, blocking, catching, knowing his assignment, I think you go Michael Mayer. All right. So overall, how do we feel about Bradley Shaw? Do you think he's going to end up at Notre Dame, or do you think he ends up elsewhere?
I think he goes to Notre Dame.
Okay.
But watch out for Auburn.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this before we get off here because I'm kind of one of those people that worries a lot about recruiting.
Yeah.
And looking at Notre Dame's 2025 recruiting, obviously we're still in the 2024 cycle, but Notre Dame is still, is pretty much done with their 2024 class. I think they said they project 23 to 24 commitments. They said overall probably 30, including transfers from the portal. But I'm just getting a head start going to 2025, and I'm looking at specifically quarterback. In terms of like offers, let me see. I'm trying to find the offers here. If I can find it, I don't know why it's not letting me. Signed, enrolled, commits. Okay, offers. All right, let me pull this up. I'm not feeling too good. In terms of quarterback recruiting. It kind of worries me, obviously with Deuce Knight kind of being the one guy that Notre Dame feels like they have the best shot with. Not going to get Bryce Underwood. That's definitely not going to happen. George McIntyre, Notre Dame's not recruiting him anymore. That was a Tommy Rees guy. Coach Gino is not pursuing him any longer. Antoine Hill was a good story. I liked him a lot out of Warner Robins. KJ Lacey just committed to Texas. Deuce Knight is looking to go to SEC country probably. And then you got, Blake Hebert's looking like he's going to Clemson. Ryan Montgomery is probably not happening. I mean, and you look at who else we have, there's no one else we offered. I'm kind of really concerned for the 2025 class.
Yeah.
For quarterback and other positions, because I don't know what our receiving board is going to look like. I don't know what our running back is going to look like. It worries me a lot because at this time last year, we had CJ Carr committed. We had, a bunch of other guys in the 2024 class committed, Peter Jones and guys like that. It seems like to me 2025 is starting to lack a little bit.
I don't disagree.
Are you worried at all?
No, having one commit, it is early. Now give me 2-3 months and we still don't have another commitment after summertime, then I'd be a little worried. Quarterback, we'll get up there with Deuce Knight. That's
Worries me. We're not even in the top 4.
It's just you gotta, it's pick. So, I don't know how to explain. Like, there's gonna be the Notre Dame type of kids, right?
Mhm.
And they just, it's very early. So give it another few months. I guarantee you in 3 months after the summer, there's going to be a quarterback that pops up, or one of these quarterbacks that are like, Notre Dame. And Notre Dame be right there in the warm section. So it's recruiting. It's wild, right?
Mhm.
I'd rather have this than a Brandon Davis Swain at quarterback and just decommit, right? Like you said.
Let me ask you this, though, because this is kind of what I was wondering. If Notre Dame, obviously it's still early. These kids won't sign on the dotted line until December of 2025. So we're a long ways away from, this commitment mattering at all. But do you think if Notre Dame has a really good season this year on the field, Sam Hartman can show that Notre Dame's offense can be explosive, like quarterback friendly, receiver friendly? Say Notre Dame goes 11-1, makes the CFP. Say we beat USC and Ohio State. Do you think that opens the eyes and opens more doors to getting these top 2025 5-star kids or
Yeah.
high 4-star kids for Notre Dame?
Yeah, always. I mean, like when we beat Clemson, recruits just were like, "Oh, let me think about Notre Dame." It's gonna happen. It's like if Texas went undefeated, or let me use another one. USC, right? Lincoln Riley goes there, they win. Now recruits are like, let me go there, right? So it's early. So I think I'd be worried about the quarterback room at the end of the summer. They're not even done with summer, right? They still got invites, camps, official visits. You're not going to get your quarterback right away every single class.
For sure. It's maybe different because CJ Carr popped so early.
Yeah, and Tyler Buckner popped so early.
So weird.
All these quarterbacks commit very early. It might be another Kenny Minchie type of year where we're going after someone, Dante Moore it up, and it just doesn't work out. We'll see.
All right. Well, Sean, that has been a great show. We went a little longer than what we usually do, but I think we covered pretty much everything Notre Dame. Anyways, I have been your host, Ryan Favell, with my co-host, Sean, at Indy Forever on Twitter. Go follow us both on Twitter. This has been the Gold Standard. We will see you guys next week. And as always, go Irish.
Go Irish.